Welcome to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I'm Kyra Mitchell-Lewis, and thank you all for joining. Hope you all are having a wonderful week. As we continue to celebrate Women's History Month, I'm excited to bring you a conversation today with Karyn Seitz, the happiness expert. As a former spiritual healer, Karyn realized her clients were not getting better. She was frustrated that she could not deliver the results her clients wanted. And even though she was trying lots of different healing and coaching techniques, Karyn knew she also wasn't getting the changes she wanted in her life. She secretly lacked confidence in her ability to change. Her adult life had stalled. And in a fresh new search for answers, Karyn found the missing piece that would ultimately transform her life and her clients. See, there's something very profound in owning that you are the problem in your life. And that's what Karyn discovered. This awareness pushed her to confront herself and get serious about herself and her life. Now, Karyn is fulfilled in her life, and she teaches others the same journey she has taken to find herself and to be happy. When I come back, I'll speak to Karyn about her journey, finding real happiness, and how she helps others do the same. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I'm Kyra. Now I'm so excited to welcome in Karyn to the Glow Up Girl podcast. Welcome, Karyn.
Thanks so much for having me, Kyra. It's really good to be here, and I'm excited about our conversation today.
Yes. Well, let's go ahead and get started by having you tell the audience listening or watching a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Karyn Seitz, and I call myself the happiness expert. I live in Denver, Colorado, and I love what I get to do. So I work with women who have a great life on paper. They might have the career, they might be married or have a relationship, might have kids, a nice home. They're where they are at, want to be financially. They have the makings of a great life, but on the inside, they still feel unfulfilled and like something is missing and disconnected from themselves. So I teach women in that place, because I was there too, teach them how to connect with themselves and build a healthy relationship with themselves, which is the experience of being happy, and what is missing. So I like to say that the thing that's missing in your life, if you're in that place and you're feeling unfulfilled, but you have all the makings of a wonderful life, what's missing is you. And that's what was missing for me in my life and my journey when I hit that place. I didn't need another book. I didn't need another therapist. I didn't need another healer. Didn't need a different job or a different husband. I needed me. And that's what I teach women how to do. So I have a program that takes women through a process to build a relationship with themselves so they can find happiness on the inside instead of looking for it outside of them in their relationships and in their career.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So many things to unpack.
Yeah.
But why don't we start with you, as you mentioned? And it's really amazing when someone is teaching something that they personally experienced. So when you say you went through this journey, let's talk about where were you? How did you get to a place of realizing? Like, did you just feel unhappy? Did you feel like what does that look like? I think that's a better way to ask that question.
Great question. So I'm 39, I'll be 40 in November. And when I was 31, that's where I hit. I said, I like to say I had a 30-something crisis where I was doing everything I thought I was supposed to be doing. I was going to therapy. I was doing yoga. I was doing meditation. I had a healing practice. I did all things woo-woo. I had bookshelves and bookshelves of self-help books. I had gotten married. I gone to years of therapy. And yet I still felt an emptiness inside of me. And I felt very insecure.
Mhm.
I like to say that I felt like a little girl trapped inside a woman's body.
Mhm.
Um, and I was doing all of these things, and people were coming to me for healing and coming to me for answers. And so I had this facade to
Mhm.
the outside world that I had it all together and that I was confident and secure and had figured life out and was this like
Mhm.
spiritually enlightened person.
Uh-huh.
Um, but my life showed a a much different picture in the inside. How I felt about myself on the inside showed a much different picture. And the turning
Right.
point for me, Kyra, is that I met my mentors, David and Peggy. And I'll talk about Peggy a little later in the podcast with one of the questions we'll get into. But they were the first people of anybody that I had been working with, therapists, healers, workshops, you name it. They were the first people to help me to see, and this will be a main part of what we talk about today, but they were the first people to help me see that I was the problem in my life.
Mhm.
And I was the problem and why I felt unfulfilled and insecure and still beating myself up and not feeling
Mhm.
enough and feeling like an imposter, all the things we grapple with as women when we are
Mhm.
unhappy. And they helped me to see that that's a really good thing if I'm the problem, because that means I'm empowered to be the solution. And
Mhm.
everything else I was doing, they were taking me, not in all well intention, it just didn't solve my problems. They were
Right.
pointing me in the direction of looking at my upbringing and at my
Mhm. Mhm.
parents and at failed relationships and at
Mhm.
things that had happened to me in my life, which I had no control over. It
Mhm.
wasn't
Mhm.
until I was able to see I was the problem that I had any control, because I could change the choices and decisions and the things that I was doing to have an unhealthy relationship with myself and feel bad about myself on the inside. That was the problem. And I
Mhm.
was the one that was empowered to solve it.
I think that is so profound. I wrote down as you were talking, the facade. Number one, the facade when you started, like, yes, I think there's so many people who are living lives of just trying to maintain this facade for everybody else around them,
Hmm.
especially in the world we live in with social media. I mean, it's
Hmm.
gotta it's
Oh yeah.
gotta look pretty, it's
Oh
gotta
yeah.
feel pretty. It can't have any ink spots, can't
Yeah.
be dirty. We don't want to
Right.
see
No
that.
flaws. No
Yeah.
flaws.
Yeah. Yeah.
No wrinkles. No. Right.
We want your best filters.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that is number one. I definitely agree with you, but I think there's really something key about being able to look to yourself, to look at you and say, I am the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I love that you said, yes, you are empowered to find a solution and be able to come out on the other side of it. Whereas, like you said, so many things, so many books, so many things that we read, they do look like, well, let's look at, the external factors around you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's like, this is probably the first time I've ever talked to someone who said, like, I was the problem.
Yep. I was. I was. And I had lots of things I could say it was outside of me, lots of things that I had gone through in my life. And
Mhm.
um, but that was keeping me very disempowered, and it was keeping me very angry on the inside and
Mhm.
very hurt, and which was causing me to pull away from people in my life, to pull away from myself.
Mhm.
And there was no solution in it. And so
Mhm.
it was a much more constructive path to look at me and recognize that I am where I am
Mhm.
as a 31-year-old adult at that time
Mhm.
because of my choices and
Mhm.
decisions. And that's something I can do something about. And then something really beautiful happened where I could look at the hardships and the challenges that I had had in
Mhm.
my life, or the ups and downs I had with my parents growing up, and start to see those experiences as gifts
Mhm.
and things that I needed to have to build strength in myself. I just needed a roadmap to be able to do that. And I'm very, very grateful for that. And being able to be on this path and help other women with it too.
So Karyn, when you were going through, these feelings of being unfulfilled, feeling empty, almost sort of like a self-sabotage, right?
Yeah.
If you
Lots of self-sabotage going on at that point. Yeah.
Are there, is there one example that maybe you can share with us that happened in your life? Because as I'm just thinking, my mind is like racing with like thoughts and questions, but just take the relationship. You said you were married.
Yep.
Take the relationship with your husband.
Yeah.
How did your feelings of unfulfillment, emptiness, how did that affect your relationship?
Yeah. Very poorly. Because what happens when we're in that place, like I was, and like many women are, no matter if you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, or even 20s, or wherever you are in life, it all comes back to the same place within ourselves. But when I was unfulfilled, disconnected, empty, feeling not enough, I didn't have the awareness at that point because I hadn't met my mentors yet. And I hadn't had that awakening. I didn't have the awareness to look to myself. My only reference point was to look outside of me and my relationships and the people and things in my life. So my husband took a beating emotionally because he was who I blamed and pointed the finger at for why I was unfulfilled and unhappy and feeling not enough, because I thought it was the things that in my eyes, he wasn't doing for me, or he wasn't showing up in the way I needed him to, so I could feel secure. And what ended up happening was I took how I was feeling about myself on the inside, which ultimately at the bottom of all those feelings is feeling wrong and bad about myself. I took all those feelings and I projected them onto my husband, and I made him wrong and bad, which nearly destroyed our marriage and nearly destroyed and crushed my husband as a man. So I was the problem there as well. And as I began to learn that I was the problem, I could see the ways I was treating my husband and being critical of him and nagging him. And he wasn't enough, and he wasn't doing enough, and he wasn't the man I thought he was, and he wasn't taking care of me the way I needed to take care of him. And I'm married to a wonderful, good man. And he took that in and was like, it essentially threw his hands up at some point of like, no matter what I do, it's not enough. And that's because I wasn't enough for me. So it was a game changer when I learned to turn that around. And I learned to feel good about myself on the inside. That actually healed my marriage as well. And I could see how wonderful and amazing my husband was, and wasn't anything I was telling myself in my unhappiness and in that place. So I was sabotaging my marriage because of how I felt about myself on the inside.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think that happens more often, right, than we know, because we all do it. I mean, I went through a period, right, during in the pandemic, sitting home, working from home, eating, getting those pandemic pounds,
the pandemic weight pounds,
getting those pandemic pounds, and then feeling like, oh man, like I don't feel like myself. Like whose body is this? And then sort of projecting that onto my husband, who had no problem with me, had no problem with my pandemic pounds. But
no, they don't, because they love us. They just adore us no matter what.
Right. But I was so like upset, at myself for, going down that road and going like, man, you knew you were sitting here every day. You just kept eating cake and
Right.
cookies and all those bad things. And then just sort of like projecting that on him, being
Yeah.
like, no, I don't know. No, don't come over here. Don't touch me because like I got this extra weight. Don't do it. And so
Yep.
I can see like, and it takes maturity and,
Mhm.
and growth to be able to identify that you are the one that's
Yes.
doing it and that you need to stop. So kudos.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that
Of course. Of
story.
course. Thanks for asking the question.
Okay, let's talk about why women. So why do you think we as women, we
Mhm.
struggle and we often feel like
Mhm.
we're not enough, that we're not fulfilling our
Yeah.
potential?
Yep. Great question. And I would love to take this because I'm very passionate about sharing my journey in my career. So I consider myself very much a career-driven
Mm-hmm.
woman. That's a focus in my life. Um, and I know that that's a majority of your audience. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's a really great place to start to take it in that direction to understand why as women are we so unfulfilled no matter what we do, no matter what ladder we might be climbing in our career or as an entrepreneur or
Mm-hmm.
doing it all in life and having all the makings of a wonderful life like I talked about before. And we get, in my opinion, in my experience in life, we get led down the wrong path of where to look, of why we feel not enough and why we feel empty and why we feel unfulfilled. We're directed to look outside of ourselves and we might look at things like in a career, looking at the glass ceiling or
Mm-hmm.
looking at what's done to us, what wrongdoings have been done to us by men, and we look in those areas, and all that ever did for me and the women that I work with was to keep us very stuck, angry, and in
Mm-hmm.
victim mentality and
Mm-hmm.
powerless to be able to change. So we have to look somewhere else. And like I've been setting us up through the conversation, the only way that we're really going to change is if we look at ourselves, because the only person that you have control over to change is you. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're feeling unfulfilled and you're feeling not enough and you're feeling empty, just like I was in my life, and just like I can experience that now, I'm not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And the journey of being happy isn't a straight line. Um, but now I know where to look and I know how to get myself out of it and pull
Mm-hmm.
myself through because I'm not looking in the wrong places.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to look at ourselves. So what is it about us as women that we feel unfulfilled and
Mm-hmm.
empty, and lost and stuck and not enough? Is we have to look at our human nature of what we do. And I like to think of us like a piece of Swiss cheese that just imagine, work with me, that when we're born, it's like we're born with a big piece of Swiss cheese on the inside. And when we think of Swiss cheese is the kind of cheese that has all the holes in it.
Mm-hmm.
And in that human experience that we have, we go through life looking for things and people and relationships and accomplishments that we think are going to fill
Mm-hmm.
those holes in us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with that is we're trying to fill the holes inside of us with people and things outside of us. So it
Mm-hmm.
never works because when I'm looking for somebody else or something else or a career or even a purpose or a relationship
Mm-hmm.
to fill that emptiness in me, to fix that feeling of unfulfillment and not enough and emptiness, it never works
Mm-hmm.
because there's no me in that.
Right.
The only way to fill the holes, which is where we're going to find fulfillment, where we're going to finally feel enough, where we're going to feel good about who we are, is to fill those holes with ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and not looking for it outside of ourselves. It doesn't work. And we've been
Mm-hmm.
doing it over and over and over again throughout our whole lives. It's actually what I call the pursuit of happiness. And the pursuit of happiness, even though we know as adults, right, Kyra, that no one and no thing can make you happy, that happiness comes from the inside. We've all heard that or read it, or we know it at some level, but we get stuck in the human pursuit of happiness, which is looking for the house, the money, the career, the promotion, the vacation, the husband, the kids, trying to be happy. And none of those things are ever, ever, ever going to make us happy. So we really have to redefine what happiness even is and what unhappiness is. So how I define happiness is a healthy relationship with yourself. That's what fills the holes. That's what solves the unfulfillment and the disconnection and the emptiness. And we can know that we are unhappy, and which is having an unhealthy relationship with ourselves. When we beat ourselves up, we're critical of ourselves, we judge ourselves, we feel not enough, we feel a nagging emptiness, we feel like we don't know who we really are, we feel like we can't trust ourselves to make decisions, we second guess ourselves and doubt ourselves, don't trust ourselves. That experience, and I've been there, and I go there because I'm human, I'm not a machine. That is an unhealthy relationship with ourselves. So we can't go getting a career, getting the marriage, having the kids, getting the money, thinking those things are going to fix that unhealthy relationship with ourselves. The only one who can fix that is you. And that's a good thing.
Yes. Those things are added value.
And I'm excited where we're going to go in this. You've got some incredible questions, because it's going to reframe, because some people might think, well, then why even have a husband? Why even have my career? Why even have this if it can't make me happy? But there's good news, and we're going to get there today.
So you mentioned being career driven, and yes, because I'm career driven, and I know a lot of my listeners are as well. How do you define work? And let's start there. How do you define work?
Absolutely. So before I get into defining work, that's a perfect next place to go. I do want to talk a little bit about my journey in being a career-driven woman, and my journey in my career to find happiness, to find purpose, because that really sets us up for that, how I define work or how I define career. I use those words interchangeably. So a couple years ago, Kyra, my mentor saw a meme, and the meme was this line on an upward slant, but that went up and down, and down, like this, kind of like mountain peaks, right? But the trajectory was going up, like progression. And the meme said, "The journey of an entrepreneur." And I'm going to set this up because I know not everybody listening is an entrepreneur. The career woman's journey, or the career person's journey, or the entrepreneur's journey, it works both ways. And it starts out like at the beginning, it's like, I'm so excited, here I go, I'm gonna do it. And then we hit the first challenge, and it's like, I suck, I'm a loser, I can't do this, it's not working. And then we pull ourselves up and we're like, it's working again, and I'm excited again. And then we hit the next challenge. It's like, what was I thinking? I can't do this. I should just give up now. And then we pick ourselves up and we keep going. And then we're like, okay, I'm doing it. This is great. I love what I do. And then we hit the next down, and it starts all over again, right? And that's the journey of an entrepreneur. And it's also the journey of being in a career.
It is.
Right? So that has been so impactful to me, because that has been my journey in my career, and in my journey as an entrepreneur, and following what I call my calling, is learning to embrace that journey, because that journey is what pushes me to keep going, even when I want to give up and tell myself I can't do it. When I'm willing to work through that and recommit and keep going, that's where I begin to know myself. I begin to trust myself. I begin to realize I am enough. I feel fulfilled. I feel strong in myself. And what pushes me to go through those ups and downs is having a why. Like, why go through this? Because it's not always very much fun. And
Right.
right. And
Yeah.
my why in my career and my journey as an entrepreneur is what I consider is to fulfill God's purpose for me as a thought leader. That's what I know as my calling and my purpose in life. I knew from a very, very young age I wanted to be a teacher. I didn't know what that meant at that time. I thought I was going to be teaching like second grade or
Yeah.
and being a school teacher, but my journey, my path didn't turn out that way. And then when I met my mentor, he helped me to really refine my calling as a teacher and go within and really connect with myself and connect with God to know what am I here to do. And for me, my journey in calling as a teacher is to become a thought leader. And so that why and that connection to myself and my connection to God to fulfill that purpose as a thought leader is what drives me through those ups and downs. So I do not give up on myself and I keep going. And it's through that journey that I actually build a healthy relationship with myself. It's the journey of happiness because it's where I do get to know myself and believe in myself and know myself, all the things that I mentioned. So that I feel is really, really important.
Yeah.
To then get to how do I define work? How do I define a career?
Yeah.
Because that's what I want the audience to hear today, to take that journey, to know we're already in it because that's the nature of life, whether we like it or not. That's what life
Yeah.
is that mountain and those peaks and valleys. It's just the
For
more
sure.
this, right? The sooner we can embrace that, the better life gets, I promise. And I still have to recommit to embrace that quite often. But how I define work or how I define a career is a career is a place to get to know myself and feel good about who I am. A career is a place to get to know myself and to feel good about who I am. So why I define it that way is that if I don't, then work becomes this thing I have to do, that I should do, that I'm supposed to do. It becomes a place I'm trying to get some type of what I call external value out of. I want it to make me happy. I want my career to make me feel good about myself. And I give my power away to that. And it's never going to do that because it's never going to fill me. It's never going to fill that Swiss cheese hole the way I think it's going to. And then I'm going to be resentful and burdened. And what am I doing? And I hate what I do. So I have to do work. I have to do a career for me to become the best version of myself. And that's how we build a healthy relationship with ourselves to resolve those unhappy feelings that we carry and having an unhealthy relationship with ourselves.
I love that. Love that so much. I love hearing about the journey, your journey, as it relates to whether it's your career or you're an entrepreneur, because it is so true. I mean, it happens in both. I mean, being a workingpreneur, like it happens if there are peaks, there are valleys, there are peaks, there are valleys. And when you often work in, say a corporate job and you have what I like to call the purpose, what God has for me to do is this on the side, doing Glow Up Girl. But yeah, there are a lot of times where it's just like, oh, should I keep going? It's that same feeling. It's like, should I keep going? Should I keep pushing through? Like, okay, God, just tell me, like, I know you put this in my, I know you put this in my spirit and my heart for me to do it. And I just am trying to like understand if I should be doing it. And I'm very, very honest, very vocal all the time with God about like what's happening. Let's
Yeah.
talk about it, Lord. Let's talk about it. Let's
What are
have
you putting
conversations.
me
Yeah.
into? Like, are
What are we
you
doing here?
sure?
Yeah. And I think, like you said, I do love, looking at the career
Yeah.
as a way of, getting to know you and
Yeah.
understanding, trusting yourself, because you're right. If we go into our jobs, most often we're looking for that validation, right? We want to be
Yes.
validated by that
Yes.
that job, the people in that job, and the validation comes with, oh, you've been promoted, oh, you are
Mhm.
going to get more money. And it's like
Mhm.
really just going in there. For me, I like to look at it as like I'm going into a place where I can make impact, where I can
Yeah.
make impact on the people around me, where I can, help someone else to see the things and the strengths, helping other people grow. And I think it's like when you understand the why, like you said, the
Mhm.
why you're placed somewhere, the why you are here to do.
Mhm.
Because I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, seasons, I don't look at the like it's not long term. I don't know how long God has me here. I'm gonna
Mhm.
do the work that He's called me to do while I'm here. And
Yeah.
then I'm not going to go into this place every day like, oh yeah, I'm gonna retire here. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna keep it moving.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. And I think that's very something that my audience, I hope you all listening, watching us right now, like you are taking this, because this is really good, really good
Mhm.
information.
Thank you.
Now, Karyn, let's talk about, I mean, if we could call it a secret.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
This to being to we've talked about
Yeah.
pieces and parts of
Yeah.
how to be fulfilled and
Mhm.
happy in our
Mhm.
careers and lives.
Yeah.
But what do you do? I know you just mentioned, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, like, you're human, you're not a
Mhm.
robot.
Mm-mm.
And you have moments, so you're gonna have moments.
Yeah.
What do you do? Like, what is that secret? What do you come back to? How do you keep
Yeah.
yourself centered every time?
Yeah. So i- a big piece of it is whenever I hit that down or that valley from the journey of happiness and of
Mhm.
fulfilling our purpose in life and in our careers or whatever that is for us in our life, I have to recommit. And how I recommit to myself, I can't listen to that voice in my mind. I can't. I've
Mhm.
had
Mhm.
to. I like to use the term parent myself. I have to
Mhm.
parent myself when that
Mhm.
voice, because it can, I know we all know, and we've been there, that it gets so loud and it's so convincing that
Mhm.
we should give up. And maybe, my thing is like, well, maybe I don't, I want to be a good wife and I'll carry my weight. I'm just gonna like go be a banker. Like that's where my head goes. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna go be a banker. Maybe I could go back to school for 2 years and get my teaching license
Mhm.
and I'll just go be a teacher in a school. Like that's where my mind goes. And
Mhm.
it's like I don't
Mhm.
really want to do this and I can't do this.
Right. Yeah.
And I have to catch that voice
Yeah.
and know, that's
Yeah.
just my mind.
Mhm.
That's just that weaker part of me trying to give up, the part of me I have to face to
Mhm.
become stronger in myself and outgrow those thoughts and outgrow those limitations so I don't give
Mhm.
up and run away. So recommitting is huge. And then the secret is really coming back to my why. Why am
Mhm.
I doing this?
Mhm.
And that's such a strong anchor for me because for me, not fulfilling what I believe is my God given purpose
Mhm.
and what God has intended for me in this life and what I know is I have intended for me in this life. I think it's a co-creation and a relationship we have together.
Mhm.
To me personally, and I have to remind myself of this, is what's the purpose of life if I'm not going to fulfill the purpose for me being here and being blessed with
Mhm.
this life? Like you
Mhm.
can't, you're going to go, nothing wrong with being a banker. That could be somebody's calling and
Mhm.
purpose.
Mhm.
I just know that's not the direction of my life. That's my shortcut out of what I'm meant to do.
Mhm.
So if I gave up on myself and I said, I'm going to go be a banker, then I'm giving up on me and I'm giving up on
Mhm.
God, and that's not okay with me. So that
Mhm.
reminding myself of that why is the secret. And then the definition of career. Oh, I'm
Mhm.
here to get to know myself and to feel good about who I am, which pushes me outside of my comfort zone in my
Mhm.
career so I can get to know myself and I can believe in myself and keep going so that I don't give up on me. So it's recommitting to being outside of my comfort zone and pushing myself to grow and learn so that I'm building internal value instead of
Mhm.
looking for that validation and value outside of me. I'm
Mhm.
building it in me and who I
Mhm.
am, and that my purpose outside of how I define that with God, my purpose is to get to know me. That's the purpose of my calling. And then that flows out to everyone else and flows out
Mhm.
to society and community and what I'm doing. But
Mhm.
my purpose has to be, why am I doing this for me and what's important to me? And when I come back to that definition of career, I come back to my why. That's what drives me to keep going and keep growing and learning. So I have that healthy relationship with myself, which is being happy.
Mhm. Awesome. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Will you tell us about the programs that you
Yeah.
offer and how people listening can work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my main program that I love and just blows my mind every time to watch the women who come through it change and come out the other side feeling good about who they are, building that healthy relationship with themselves, knowing themselves as happy on the inside, um, is my happiness course for women. And it doesn't matter who comes to me, if they're struggling in their career, if they're struggling in their marriage, if they're struggling being a mom, if they're struggling with their family and their parents,
Mhm.
um, happiness is the solution. So my program is universal in that it doesn't matter what area of life you're struggling. That area of life is not the problem. So my program
Mhm.
teaches you to see yourself in a constructive, empowering way as the problem in your life so that you can change. And it's an internal process through the educational program to begin to build that connection with yourself and
Mhm.
transform those feelings of emptiness and not enough and unfulfillment and disconnection that gets solved through the program by the end of the 10-week program. So I help my clients define themselves where they are starting the program and how they're feeling in that unhealthy relationship with themselves. And then
Mhm.
at the end, they're able to look back at that and they're almost always brought to tears because they're like, I'm so sad for that woman. I know that was
Mhm.
me, but oh
Mhm.
my gosh, like that's not me anymore. So they're
Right.
able to articulate that internal change of how they're feeling about themselves. And then that's what then changes the area they came to me about, whether that's the career, the marriage, being a mom, family,
Mhm.
money, whatever it is. It's that connection with themselves that then they begin to see changes in those
Mhm.
areas. So it trickles out into their lives.
Mhm. Mhm. Awesome. Love that. Love that. Okay, so as you know, this is Women's History Month.
Mhm.
And I'd love to know what women have
Mhm.
influenced you most in your
Yeah.
life.
The woman that's influenced me most, especially in regards to understanding and embracing my femininity as a
Mhm.
woman, is my mentor, Peggy.
Mm.
And so Peggy has made a huge impact on me in my life by really helping me understand what it means to be a woman and
Mhm.
where my strength comes from as a woman. And what Peggy has taught me is that my strength comes from my softness.
Mhm.
And how Peggy defines soft is strength without fear.
Mhm.
Because what we do as women from a place of fear, and I know this 100% is me, and it's something I have to be diligent with myself in catching, is that we have the tendency isn't strong enough word. It's like we're wired to wall up and
Mhm.
armor up when we go out into life or we go into our careers because we're terrified of being taken advantage of. We think we're going to be walked over. We think it's a man's world. So we've got to match them, and we've got to be masculine, and we, pardon my language, we've got to be badasses, and we armor up, and we come in with this false sense of strength that comes from fear. And I have found with mentorship from Peggy, it's that when I drop my walls and I'm willing to come in to the room, and I'm willing to come to the table just as me, not scared and fearful of being taken advantage of or what's going to be done to me, just myself and soft and who I am as a woman, that's where I find my strength. And that's where I find my greatest power. Our power does not come from being the badass and being armored up. Our power comes from the ability to be soft and have our walls down. That's where we find connection. It's where we find empathy. It's where we have the ability to navigate and communicate with different people to reach a common ground. It can't happen any other way. So Peggy has been just a huge, huge, huge impact in my life of finding that in myself and cultivating who I am and my softness, and reminding me to come back to my softness when I wall up. And I'm forever, ever grateful to her and her mentorship.
Oh, awesome. I love that. Shout out, Peggy.
Yeah. She's a very, very special woman.
Awesome. Well, we are going to move into three things with Karyn. I'm going to ask you three questions.
Great.
So one is a two-parter.
Okay.
How did you start and end the day?
Yeah, absolutely. So I start my day with a morning routine. And my morning routine is very simple. It starts with waking up with my alarm and getting out of bed, taking a shower, and then I spend time doing something that I really enjoy. And then I'll share more about that, and then have breakfast, finish getting ready, and out the door by my out the door time. So the purpose of my morning routine isn't because it's something that we read we should do or we're supposed to do. The purpose of it is making myself a priority and making myself important to me first thing in the day. That's part of cultivating a healthy relationship with myself and feeling good about myself. And so it's the same at the end of my day. I want to be doing the things that make me a priority. So one of those things, how I end my day, before I walk into the door, because my husband gets home from work before I do, before I walk in the door, I remind myself that I'm coming home to another person that I love and who is a part of my life, and that it's not fair to him to come in a bad mood or come bring my challenges or dump my day. So I take some time just to get grounded in myself and to be in control of my emotional state and come home in a good mood, because we have the control to do that no matter what's going on in our lives. So that's really important to me. And then it's making sure I'm making myself dinner, getting myself ready for the next day, spending some time with my husband. And then I like to, again, do a little something for myself at the end of the day that I really enjoy, like taking a bath or doing a simple puzzle to slow down and connect with myself. So my day starts with me connecting with myself, and my day ends with me connecting with myself to make myself a priority in my life.
Awesome. Love that.
Yeah.
What's the one goal or intention you've set for yourself this year?
Yeah. So when it comes to what I talked about with having my why, I don't set goals, because in my journey, I am, and not to say I don't have goals, but what I have learned is when I'm in that journey of my purpose and my calling, I'm already in and doing the things that I want to be doing and accomplishing and achieving. And what happens for me, and I'm not discouraging people from having goals, please do not mishear my message. But when I set goals, the problem I get into is I think that if I reach these, then it's going to make me happy, or it's going to give me something I don't have. And then if I don't reach the goal, I feel really bad about myself because it's externalized. So I focus on continuing on this up and down journey and getting out of my comfort zone at work to grow and learn about myself, because I know that is going to help me to choose the opportunities and possibilities that are going to get me to where I want to be. but some
Mhm.
exciting things I'm working on as a part of this year and being in that journey.
Mhm.
I've been working on an animated master course,
Uh-huh.
animated free master course, and I've been working on that for several months now, and we're like this close to being finished, so I'm really excited about it. I've also started a new YouTube channel called The Happy Wife School, because I love teaching my journey through marriage and helping women learn
Mhm.
how to be happy in their marriages and what it means to be a wife and how they can be proud of that and why that's not a word to run away from and be ashamed of, that it's a
Mhm.
beautiful responsibility and role we get to have as women in life. So that's what my YouTube channel is all about.
Mhm.
So those are some things in the mix I'm working on in
Awesome.
2023 that I'm really excited about.
Awesome. And last, what does a day off look like for you?
Okay. I love this question too, because I have a different answer. So when we're using work to grow and learn about ourselves and
Mhm.
we're in our career for our purpose or our calling and to get to know who we are, work never ever feels like work. So I
Mhm.
like to say, and it's something I had to learn when I came to work with my mentor.
Mhm.
I was like, I need a day off. And he was like, there are no days off. I was like, not that I come to work every day, but I was like, can I just like take a Friday off? I just like need a day off. And he was like, there's no days off. When you're in your life and you're coming here
Mhm.
for you, there are no days off. When I say I want a day off, I'm saying I want a day off from me and I want a day off from my life, which isn't a healthy experience of ourselves. So, but when I am away from the office and in my personal life, I love spending time with my husband, quality time with my husband. I love looking at what will I enjoy doing that will fill my cup. So that
Mhm.
could be anything. I live in Colorado, which is an incredible state here in the US. And I love kayaking. I love camping.
Mhm.
When I'm at home, I love simple things like baking. I love going and washing my car. So I try to
Mhm.
keep myself engaged and going in my life. And when I do that, my cup is full. So I'm not feeling like I need like a day of doing nothing or anything
Mhm.
like that because I'm very engaged in that career and that purpose and what I'm doing in my life.
Awesome. All right. So, two last questions.
Mhm.
One, tell the audience how they can connect to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on my website, happinesscourse.com or karynseitz.com. They lead to the same place. And like I said, if you're married and you want to learn more about being happy in your marriage as a wife, you can go subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Happy Wife School with Karyn Seitz, the happiness expert. There's just a few videos up right now. Things are in motion right now to
Mhm.
be doing things consistently there, but go ahead and subscribe. There's going to be some very exciting things happening just around the corner.
Awesome. And we'll also drop the links in the show notes as
Great.
well. And the last question, first of all, thank you so much for joining us today, for coming in. I really enjoyed our conversation. But what are the three things
Yeah.
you'd like the audience to take away from our
Yeah,
conversation?
absolutely. Number one is what I shared from my own awakening and in profound awareness that I am the problem. Therefore, I am the solution. That's the number one thing I want you all to take away today.
Mhm.
Um, it's not a bad thing. It's not meant to beat yourself up or make yourself bad or wrong. It's meant to empower you. You are the only person that you have any control over to change. So when you see yourself as the problem, it's a really good thing because you're empowered to be the solution and you can take that into any area or relationship in your life. Number two is understanding the definition of happy is a healthy relationship with yourself. It's not an emotion. Happiness isn't an emotion or a feeling or an emotional state. It's a healthy relationship with yourself. So you might be thinking, well, what do I do with that, Karyn? Well, first you have to see to be happy. You have to know that if you're unhappy, and that's not a bad thing. It's recognizing, oh, if I'm beating myself up, if I'm feeling like I'm not enough, if I'm not fulfilling my potential, that's an unhealthy relationship with myself. So that's a good thing to know because now I can work on having a healthy relationship with myself to feel good about myself, which really comes to the third thing I want the audience to take away, which is our definition for career. that your career is a place to get to know yourself and feel good about who you are. And when you use your career in that way, that's where you're going to build a healthy relationship with yourself and be happy.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Karyn, again, thank you so much for joining. This has been an excellent conversation. So many great nuggets.
Yeah.
So many great takeaways from our chat today. You can always come back in the future and share more.
Awesome.
And I wish you nothing but all the best. All the best.
Thank you so much, Kyra. It was wonderful to be here today. And thank you for asking such wonderful questions and really allowing this to be a really impactful conversation.
Awesome. Well, stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Glow Up Gyrl podcast. I'm Kyra. Thank you again to Karyn for joining the show today. If you want to learn more about Karyn and her program, check out the links in the show notes. If you'd like to learn more about Glow Up Gyrl, visit us at glowupgirl.com. You can check out past podcast episodes. You can sign up to be a guest on the show, grab our social links, and so much more. Also, be sure to check out our Career Focused podcast episodes as well, where I share my personal journey relating to my career experiences. If you're listening on a platform where you can leave a review, please feel free to do so also. And if you have any comments, any topics, any people that we should have on the show, feel free to send me an email at hello@glowupgirl.com. Thank you all so much for joining today. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule. I so greatly appreciate all of the support, and I'll see you all next week. So until then, stay focused, fab, and glow up. Take care, everyone.